My name is Alex Monroe, and until last year, I thought I had a normal, average, middle-class life. My parents worked regular jobs, we lived in a modest house in Ohio, and nothing about my childhood suggested anything unusual, except for one thing. Every time something terrible almost happened to me, it didn't. When I was 8, I fell off a roof. I should have broken both legs, the doctor said. But I landed on a huge inflatable safety mat placed by city workers who just happened to be fixing a billboard. When I was 12, my appendix burst in the middle of the night. Every hospital was full because of a county-wide power outage, except one, where the surgeon just happened to be waiting in the lobby because his shift ended late. When I was 17, I nearly drowned at a lake party. But a man in a black hoodie dove in and pulled me out before anyone else even noticed I was gone. I never saw him again. My friends always joked that I had a guardian angel. I didn't know then how close to the truth they were, or how terrifying that truth would become. Because at 24, I found out my guardian angel was a billionaire, and he didn't save me out of kindness. He saved me because he believed I belonged to him. It started when I received a letter from a law firm in New York. I almost threw it away thinking it was spam, but something about the weight of the envelope made me open it. Inside was a single line. Mr. Graydon requests your presence immediately. Your life is in danger. There was also a plane ticket, first class, same day. I shouldn't have gone, but curiosity is stronger than fear, and something in me knew this wasn't a prank. When I landed, a black SUV picked me up without the driver even asking for my name. He simply said, "Mr. Monroe, we've been expecting you." We drove through Manhattan until skyscrapers gave way to private streets, and finally, we entered a massive gated estate overlooking the Hudson River. It looked like a museum crossed with a fortress, marble pillars, iron fences, guards with earpieces. The kind of place built by a man who doesn't like being told no. Inside, the air smelled like old money, leather, whiskey, and silence. A butler led me into an office so large it could have been its own house. Floor-to-ceiling windows, fire crackling, a single painting above the fireplace, a portrait of a boy who looked unnervingly like me. And then he walked in. Gideon Graydon, the billionaire. Tall, silver-haired, intimidating. The kind of man whose presence makes the room feel colder. He offered me a glass of water, which I refused because my hands wouldn't stop shaking. Then he said the words that shattered my entire existence. "Alex, I am your biological father." I laughed. I actually laughed in his face, but he didn't. He slid a folder across the desk. DNA tests, hospital records, photos of my mother when she was young, standing beside Gideon before I was born. My chest tightened. "How? Why?" I whispered. He sighed, leaning back in his chair. "Your mother and I were together briefly. I didn't know she was pregnant when she left. When I found out years later, she refused my involvement. I respected her, but I still protected you from afar. Suddenly, every coincidence in my life clicked into place. The safety mat, the surgeon, the man in the hoodie. "Those were your people," I whispered. He nodded. Then he added the part that froze my blood. "And now they're trying to kill you." My throat closed up. Who? Who is trying to kill me? My family. I stared at him, stunned. "I don't have a family," he corrected softly. "I have heirs, and they would prefer you removed." His voice was calm, too calm, like he was discussing a business merger, not my murder. "You've lived unknowingly under my protection your whole life," he said. "But now they know who you are, and they won't stop until you're gone." My breathing turned sharp and shallow. "And what do you want from me?" I asked. Gideon folded his hands. Every instinct in my body screamed that nothing about this was right. But before I could respond, 3 security guards entered the office and stood near the door. Subtle, but not really. I wasn't being invited to stay. I was being kept. Gideon spoke slowly, choosing each word with the precision of a man accustomed to controlling every outcome. "I know this is overwhelming," he said, "but you must understand, my world is not forgiving. Wealth invites greed, power invites enemies, and a new heir." He paused, his eyes narrowing. Invites bloodshed. I swallowed hard. So, your kids want me dead because they think I'll take their money? He smiled, but there was nothing warm about it. It's not about money, Alex. It's about legacy. Control. The Graydon Empire is built on the belief that I leave nothing to chance. My children know this, and you— He gestured toward me with a slow, deliberate motion. You complicate everything. My hands trembled against the armchair. I don't want anything from you. I didn't even know you existed. That doesn't matter, he replied. Perception is reality, and the perception of you threatens them. He stood up, walked toward the massive window, and stared out over the river. You will stay here, he said firmly, for your protection. Like hell I will. I stood too, surprising even myself. You drop a bombshell on me, tell me strangers want to kill me, and now you think you can lock me in your mansion? Gideon didn't look angry. If anything, he looked amused. You misunderstand, he said quietly. You're not locked in. You are hidden. If you leave before I secure your safety, you will not survive a week. I didn't know whether that was a warning or a threat. Maybe both. That night, they gave me a room. My room, the butler said, as if I'd always lived there. It was bigger than my entire apartment back home. Too clean, too perfect, like a hotel designed by a surveillance agency. There were no locks on the inside of the doors. None. I barely slept. Every noise in the hallway made my pulse spike. At 3 a.m., I finally gave up and sat in the armchair, staring at the shadows. Around 4 a.m., I heard a soft knock. I froze. The door cracked open, and a woman stepped inside. Mid-20s. Dark hair, sharp eyes, dressed in all black. She put a finger to her lips. Quiet, she whispered. I tensed. Who are you? She closed the door behind her with barely a sound. I'm the one who pulled you out of the lake when you were 17. My stomach dropped. The hoodie guy! She nodded once. My name is Nina. I work for Mr. Graydon. Well, worked for him. I'm not supposed to be here. If they see me, I'm dead. My voice shook. Why are you here now? Because you need to leave, immediately. My heart pounded so hard I thought it would burst. Gideon said if I leave, his kids will— She stepped closer, her eyes strangely gentle. It's not his kids. What? It's him, Alex. The room tilted. Gideon, she continued softly, has spent 20 years searching for you. Not because he wants a relationship, not because he cares. She hesitated, as if afraid the walls were listening. He wants a replacement. I blinked. A replacement for what? Himself. My blood ran cold. He's dying, Nina whispered, and the only match for the experimental procedure he wants is someone biologically compatible. My knees buckled. I sat back down, shaking uncontrollably. You don't mean— Yes, she said. He plans to harvest part of your liver, bone marrow, and possibly other organs. It's not legal, it's not safe, and you wouldn't survive. My voice cracked. He said his family was trying to kill me. She nodded grimly. They are, but not for the reason he told you. They're trying to stop him. The air left my lungs. Nina grabbed my shoulders. Listen to me. You have 2 hours before the morning staff switch. That's your only chance. If you stay, you'll never walk out alive. I stared at her, numb, terrified, struggling to breathe. The doorknob turned slowly, not like someone barging in, but like someone who already knew what was waiting on the other side. Nina's eyes locked onto mine. No fear, just calculation. She pointed silently to the bathroom door. I sprinted across the room as quietly as I could, slipped inside, and closed it behind me, leaving only a sliver open so I could see. The main door opened. A man stepped in, younger than Gideon, sharper features, same cold expression. I recognized him immediately from Google Images. Elias Graydon, Gideon's eldest son. He scanned the room like a predator. Nina, he said calmly, you shouldn't be here. Nina didn't flinch. Neither should you. Father knows you're missing from the compound, Elias replied. He's displeased. I'm sure he is. Elias took a step closer. His voice dropped. "Move, Nina. I'm not here for you." "I know," she said, blocking his view of the room. "But you're not taking him." He sighed, almost disappointed. "I'm not here to take him. I'm here to warn him." My pulse spiked. Elias continued. "Nina, I'm not Father's enemy. You know that, but you've picked the wrong side." She laughed, bitter and low. "The wrong side? Elias, the man is planning to butcher his own son for spare parts." "And I'm trying to stop him," Elias said sharply. "You think I want an organ farm kidnapped off the street? You think I want my father executing medical experiments like a war criminal?" Nina hesitated for the first time. "Then why did Father tell Alex that you were trying to kill him?" she asked. Elias folded his arms. "Because Father loses his mind when he feels control slipping. He thinks everyone is trying to steal what's his. Even his children." He looked around the room. A muscle in his jaw twitched. "Where is he, Nina?" She didn't answer. Elias exhaled, long and frustrated. "I'm not here to hurt him. I'm here to get him out. Tonight." He lowered his voice. "The surgical team is already on site." My blood turned to ice. "He moved up the timetable," Elias continued. "He's not waiting until morning. You have maybe 30 minutes before they come to collect him." Nina's eyes flashed with fear, the kind only someone with insider knowledge could feel. "So, what's your plan?" she asked. "Same as yours," Elias said. "Get him off this property alive." Then he added quickly, "But we can't waste time arguing." Suddenly, heavy footsteps echoed down the hallway. More than one pair, getting closer. Nina cursed under her breath. "Security sweep." Elias nodded. "They're looking for me. I disabled 3 cameras." Nina glanced at the bathroom, at me, and then back at Elias. She made her decision in a single breath. "Fine," she whispered. "We work together." Elias stepped aside and said quietly, "Alex, come out." I froze. The fact that he knew exactly where I was hiding made my stomach lurch. Nina gave me a quick nod, the same nod she gave me before diving into the lake years ago. I stepped out. Elias looked me up and down, not with hostility, more like someone assessing a fragile artifact. "You look like him," he murmured. "Unfortunate." I didn't respond. He straightened his suit jacket. "Listen to me carefully. My father is a genius, but he's also a monster. He's been obsessed with defeating death since before I was born. You should have never existed to him, except as a solution." My throat tightened. "And what do you want?" "Want?" Elias smirked. "I want to live in a world where my father doesn't have access to your DNA. That's all." Footsteps grew louder. 3 men's shadows moved under the door. Elias leaned in close. "There's a service tunnel behind the wine cellar in the lower east wing," he whispered. "It leads under the property and exits into the forest. If you make it there, I'll stall the team long enough for you to get a head start." Nina narrowed her eyes. "How can we trust you?" "You can't," he said simply. "But you don't have a choice." Suddenly, a fist pounded on the door. We hit the awning hard. It wasn't elegant. It wasn't quiet. It wasn't anything close to the smooth action movie escape Elias made it sound like. I slammed into the canvas, bounced, rolled off the edge, and hit the cold ground shoulder first. Pain shot through my arm. Nina landed better. She twisted midair, absorbed the fall, and was on her feet before I could breathe. "Up!" she whispered, grabbing my wrist. Shouts erupted above us. Flashlights lit the balcony. "There!" someone yelled. Nina yanked me into the shadows behind a row of trimmed hedges, just as 2 red laser sights swept across the yard. "They're armed?" I hissed. She didn't answer. That was the answer. The estate's manicured garden stretched out in front of us. Beautiful, symmetrical, and absolutely useless for hiding. Security guards streamed onto the lawn, moving in practiced formation. They weren't panicked. They weren't surprised. This wasn't a breach. This was a scheduled extraction. For me. Nina pointed toward the side of the mansion. "This way. Wine cellar entrance is behind those bushes. Move." We sprinted low, staying in the darkest patches of grass. My legs were shaking so badly I almost tripped twice. Every breath felt like fire in my chest. A voice boomed over the estate speakers. Gideon's voice. "Alex, stop running." Nina stiffened. Ignore him. You're frightened, Gideon continued, voice calm, fatherly, too fatherly. But this is unnecessary. No one will hurt you. Just come back inside. His tone sent a chill through me deeper than the night air. He wasn't angry. He was disappointed, like a parent whose child refused to obey. Spotlights suddenly activated, flooding the yard with blinding white light. Run! Nina shoved me forward. Bullets tore through the grass beside my feet. I dropped flat. Nina dragged me behind a stone fountain as stone splintered above our heads. They're not shooting to kill, I gasped. No, Nina said, breathing hard. Just to disable. They need you intact. She checked the angles. 3 guards on the left, 2 circling the right, more flooding in from the house. We can't make the cellar, she whispered. They're closing in. My heartbeat thundered. What do we do? Nina's jaw tightened. We change plans. How? She grabbed my face, forcing me to look straight at her. Alex, listen carefully. If I get caught... No. If I get caught, she repeated, voice sharper, you don't stop. You run into the forest, follow the back fence until the cameras thin out, then keep running. You're coming with me, I snapped, shaking. That's not how this works. Before I could argue, a voice echoed across the yard, closer than before. Alex! Gideon stood on the balcony above us, tall, still, a shadow against the floodlights. Son, he said softly, come home. My stomach twisted painfully. He didn't yell, he didn't threaten, he beckoned, like he believed, truly believed, I belonged to him. Nina mouthed, go. And then she stepped out from cover and opened fire with a small, suppressed pistol I didn't even know she had. Not to kill. She aimed at spotlights, cameras, sensors. Bursts of darkness appeared as lights shattered. Guards shouted and dove for protection. Run, Alex! She screamed. I bolted. Grass tore under my feet as I sprinted across the lawn. My lungs burned. Adrenaline blurred everything around me. A flash grenade detonated somewhere behind. A white explosion that rattled my teeth. Branches whipped my face as I broke into the forest behind the estate. I didn't look back, not once, but I heard Nina shouting, then a heavy thud, then silence. I didn't stop running until my legs gave out. I woke up hours later, curled under fallen leaves at the base of a tree. My body ached, my face was scratched, my clothes were torn, but I was alive. For a moment I thought I'd escaped. Then a soft click echoed behind me. I froze. Don't move, a voice said, a woman's voice, cold, professional. Someone pressed a gun barrel to the back of my skull. My heart dropped into my stomach. Gideon's daughter. I didn't even know her name. I'd only heard whispers that she was the dangerous one, while Elias looked like the cold strategist. His sister was the weapon. 2 guards hauled me to my feet. The woman who cuffed me, tall, braided blonde hair, no nonsense in her eyes, shoved me forward. Move. Where are you taking me? I asked, stumbling. Away from your father, she said, before he drags you onto an operating table. Then, you're helping me? She didn't answer. The forest was dense, the early morning fog clinging to the ground like smoke. They marched me through it until a black SUV emerged behind a thicket. The doors opened. 2 more people inside. The woman pushed me in and climbed in after me. The engine roared to life. Who are you? I asked again, voice shaking. She finally looked me in the eyes. My name is Mara Graydon, Gideon's daughter. Her features were sharp like Elias, but where he had a lawyer's cold intellect, she had a soldier's precision. Same steel gray eyes, but hers held something else. Rage. Not toward me, toward him. You're safer with me than with father, she said flatly. But Nina said... Mara cut me off. Nina lied to you. She lies for a living. I shook my head. She saved my life. Twice. Because she was ordered to, Mara snapped. She was my father's most loyal operative for years. She's trained to manipulate, to fabricate trust, to keep assets compliant. Assets? I whispered. You, Mara said. The SUV cut through the forest, bumping over roots and rocks. I tried to process everything at once. Nina said you and your brother were trying to kill me. Mara actually laughed, a bitter sound. If we wanted you dead, you'd have been dead before you ever set foot in the estate. Then why? Because father lied, Mara said. He lies about everything when he wants control. But Elias told Nina he was helping. Elias helps no one. If he said he'd get you out, it's because he wants leverage over me. And if Nina said we want you dead, it's because father wanted you scared enough to stay close to him. My head spun. So who should I trust? I demanded. Mara didn't hesitate. No one, including me. That didn't make me feel better, but it felt honest. We drove for nearly an hour before the SUV turned onto a narrow dirt road leading to an abandoned farmstead. The barn was collapsed. The house windows were boarded. A perfect hideout. The guards pushed me inside. They removed my cuffs, but only after locking the door behind me. Mara stepped forward. Sit, she ordered. I sat. She paced once, then twice, then finally stopped in front of me. You need the truth, she said. The real truth, and you need it now, before father finds us. I nodded weakly. She took a breath. To understand what's happening, you need to understand my father. She crouched in front of me, her voice low, steady. Gideon Graydon is dying. He's been dying for years, a degenerative disease, one that he kept hidden from the world by sheer power and money. But it's catching up to him. My stomach twisted. He tried clinical trials, illegal treatments, black market labs. He burned through billions. Nothing worked. So he looked for alternatives. Her eyes darkened. And then he found you? My voice cracked. I didn't ask to be involved in any of this. He doesn't care what you want, Mara said. He cares what you are. I swallowed hard. Which is what? A perfect genetic match. Silence. The room felt colder. Mara continued. Father believes, truly believes, that with the right stem cell grafts, marrow transplants, organ harvests, and regenerative tissue infusions, he can extend his life indefinitely. He sees you as the missing piece. I felt sick. He sees you, Mara said quietly, as his cure. I buried my face in my hands. Nina warned me. She said he wants to use me. Mara didn't blink. He wants to consume you. A chill ran through me. Why are you helping me? I whispered. Hello, son, he said softly. Time to come home. The dust hung in the air like smoke. Mara shoved me behind her instinctively, drawing a gun from her jacket. But Gideon simply raised a hand, and the guards behind him leveled their rifles in response. Daughter, he said coolly, you're pointing a weapon at the man who kept you alive for 30 years. You didn't keep me alive, Mara spat. You kept me obedient. Gideon smiled. Is there a difference? Mara's eyes narrowed. Alex, get behind the table. Now. Gideon didn't even glance at me. His focus was entirely on her. You always did overestimate yourself, he said, just like your mother. Mara flinched, just slightly, and Gideon's smile widened. He knew exactly where to cut. You aren't here because you care about him, Gideon continued. You're here because you want to punish me. But you forget. He stepped forward, spreading his arms. I always win. Mara fired first. A single shot, aimed straight at Gideon's forehead. But one of his guards lunged into the line of fire before the bullet hit, collapsing instantly. Gideon didn't blink. Take her! Everything exploded at once. 3 guards tackled Mara. She fought like a wolf, knocking one unconscious, elbowing another. But there were too many, too strong, too prepared. They pinned her to the ground, wrenching her gun away. Gideon finally turned to me. Alex, he said softly, enough of this. My voice shook with rage. You lied about everything. I told you the truth that matters, he replied. You are mine. I'm not your property. He tilted his head. Of course you are. You were created with purpose. You are the masterpiece of my bloodline. I backed away. You want to use me. You want to live, he finished calmly. And what father wouldn't use every resource to stay with his family? You should be honored. Your life buys centuries for mine. He suddenly softened his tone, almost tender. This resistance, it's fear, that's all. Once the procedure starts, the sedatives, Mara screamed from the floor. Alex, run! A guard kicked her in the ribs. Gideon sighed. Enough. He signaled, and 2 guards moved toward me. I panicked, grabbed the nearest thing I could find, a rusty lantern from the old farmhouse wall, and smashed it into one guard's face. He fell back, cursing. The second lunged at me. Before he could reach me, Mara wrenched herself free just enough to hook her foot around the guard's ankle. He fell, giving me a split second. "Alex! Out the back!" she yelled. I sprinted toward the kitchen door, but Gideon was suddenly there, impossibly fast for a dying man, blocking the exit. "Stop!" he commanded. His shadow filled the doorway. His eyes burned with something ancient and terrifying. Not desperation. Ownership. "You will not leave me," he whispered. "I have searched half the planet for you. Don't make the mistake your mother made." I froze. My mother? Gideon's jaw twitched, a crack in his mask. "She tried to run with you. She stole you from me. That error cost her life." My breath left my lungs. He had killed her. He admitted it, so casually. A horror rose in my chest, so powerful I thought I'd drown in it. "Alex," Gideon said softly, "come with me, or I will finish what I started 18 years ago." Something inside me snapped. I grabbed a broken shard of wood from the floor and swung at him with everything I had. He caught my wrist effortlessly. "You are strong," he murmured. "Excellent. The organs will be pristine." Then a gunshot. Loud. Deafening. Gideon staggered back, eyes wide in disbelief. Behind him stood Mara, bruised, bleeding, one hand holding the pistol she must have ripped off a guard during the struggle. He touched the blood blooming across his chest. "You wouldn't?" he whispered. Mara stepped forward, shaking but resolute. "You don't get to decide what happens to my family anymore." She fired again. Gideon collapsed to the floor. His guards rushed to him. Chaos, shouting, scrambling. Mara grabbed my arm. "Run!" For the first time, that word didn't scare me. "Yeah," I whispered. "I'd like that." The great empire died that morning, but something much more valuable was born. Freedom, a future, a life that finally belonged to me.